Are you tired of spending hours upon hours searching through piles of books and documents to try to write accurate source citations for your genealogy research? Well, fear not! Introducing the newest addition to the genealogy research world, a revolutionary citation tool that makes writing source citations easier than ever before. Cite-Builder helps you quickly and easily enter all the pertinent resource identifying information and generate a correctly formatted source citation, ready for use in your research papers or your family trees in a matter of minutes. Howdy, I'm Devin Noelle with Family History Fanatics, and I love helping you have fun while doing your genealogy research. But source citation writing isn't fun. But I spoke with the developers of Cite-Builder, and I have to tell you, I really like this tool. If you're ready to say goodbye to the frustration and time-draining process of writing source citations, you'll enjoy this interview with Andy and Jenny Joyce. First, we'll discuss the catalyst for the creation of this tool, and follow that with a demonstration. This video is longer than usual on this channel, so use the timestamps in the description box to advance ahead or return to specific portions to replay any sections. Oh, you'll also want to check out the description box for a coupon code that will give you a discount when you use this tool. Howdy, Andy and Jenny. I'm so excited to have you all the way from down under. How are you doing today?
Good. We're doing well.
Yeah. Great. Well, I'm here to talk about your favorite subject, which is Cite-Builder. So my question is, how did you decide Cite-Builder was something that was needed in the genealogy industry?
Well, obviously I've been in the industry for a long time, and people have often asked me how to cite sources. And when I start telling them the principles, they start getting this terrified look like a rabbit in the headlights. I also thought that there's an issue or a need for, if people are used to doing one style and they're suddenly publishing in a journal that demands a different style, it's really difficult for them to suddenly switch between them and make sure that they've got it all right. So for a long time, I had known that there was a need for this. And I kept saying to Andy, you should write it. But then circumstances gave us the opportunity.
I got laid off from my real job.
Right.
And Jenny obviously didn't want me kicking around the house, just getting under her feet. So she said, right, go and write this thing. When we were at RootsTech, and I was cold calling, not cold calling, but stopping people and walking past and saying, hey, do you cite your sources? The number of people who went, no, but I know I should. Or there were people who said, yes, but it's horrible, it's horrible, it's horrible. And then there were a few people who basically said, oh, of course I do, and I know how to do it. And I said, yeah, but what if I could show you something that makes it a little bit easier? And so I think for all those three use cases, it's kind of justified. These were the sort of things that Jenny was thinking about. And I think it was good to hear from people on the floor at RootsTech that absolutely, that's exactly, the reason that we set it up is why people need it.
Exactly. And so I've already done a few videos with Roots Magic and doing citations there, and there are some limitations. And then also I did a video about doing citations on Ancestry and the limitations there. And I remember having a conversation with you, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is really, really good. So we're going to be going into the demonstration portion in here in just a little bit. Jenny, you hit the nail on the head. Being able to switch between styles quickly is fantastic because, again, you have the different journals, but maybe you start out using one style and then you switch because you didn't like that styles, or there's limitations for that styles. And I like
doing a course.
I'm teasing people that there's in there. But before we get to there, let's talk about the different styles that you have.
Well, we're trying to get as many as we can. The way it's written, we're not limited. We can add anything in really easily. But the most common ones, of course, in the US particularly, is evidence explained.
Correct.
But then there's also Chicago, you've got Harvard, if you're getting into the UK, their systems are more based on Harvard. So you've got MHRA. If you're doing a course, say, at University of Strathclyde, they've got their own version, but you have to do it with their variations because there's no one and only Harvard. And most archives have their own style guide of how they want their things that are in their archive cited. So we've also included those. So we've got the NARA for the US in certain cases, and we've got State Records of New South Wales, or whatever they call themselves this week. They keep changing their name. And yeah, the University of Tasmania does a course, so we've got that in there.
Oh, nice.
If it comes along and says, for example, oh, I want MLA, it's really easy for us to add that in. That's the way it was all designed, to be really easy to add a new style or a new rule.
Yeah.
For sure. That's so exciting. I remember when I was interacting with some of my international colleagues who are accredited genealogists, and they had talked about the limitations of the US style citations and their record collection. It doesn't work really well. And that's one of the things that as Andy was stopping people and then talked to me about it, I was like, oh, this would fit for my colleague. This would be really great. So without further ado, let's go ahead and switch to the demonstration. Why don't you walk us through how to get started with the citations?
What we're looking at here is the homepage of Cite-Builder. I'm just going to zoom it down so we can get a little bit more of the screen in. Now, one of the questions that people asked me a lot at Roots Tech was, is it an application? Does it run on Mac? Well, it's a website. We've tested it on most of the standard browsers. It does work on tablets. It's not so good on phones. Okay. You can imagine the phone screen is really a little bit small for it to work, but certainly, it's a website, so it works on most of the browsers. All of the citation rules and all of the styles are currently available in the basic version for free. The premium version is a yearly subscription. We'll probably talk a little bit later on about that. And that has some additional power user functions. There are some features that will really speed up your citation sort of workflow. I'm going to show you the premium version. Now, most of what I'll show you is available in the basic version. And when I'm talking about a premium function, I'll say that's a premium. So what I'm going to do, let's say, for example, we have got a baptism certificate that we found online. So what we'd do is we'd go through and we'd look in these sort of blue tiles to see what matches. Obviously, there's parish registers there. That's where we're going to go. But you can see here we've got all manner of different types of citations, different types of sources that you typically come across. And this is, I guess, one of the differentiating areas between this and a more generic citation generator. We've specifically put in things which are relevant to genealogy, like headstones or shipping record, online family trees, that you're not necessarily going to find a good fit for with a more generic citation generator. So let me go. I'm going to go and click on parish registers, and I'm going to click on baptisms. And then I'm going to choose which one I want that's a good fit. Here we go. Baptism, parish, register, image, other, digitized online. So I'm just going to click on that. And I get a form, which has all different bits of information that I need to put into the citation. And if I scroll down here, you can actually see, in this case, I've got 3 different styles available for this particular type of source. Now, as Jenny said, if someone wants to say to us, hey, I'm trying to cite a parish baptism record and I need it in Chicago, then it doesn't take us very long at all to add it. We come here, we need all this information for our citation. Because there's 3 different styles, not every piece of information is needed for every style. So one thing I can do, and it explains it at the top here, if I do a shift click on the style I want, and I'm going to pick evidence explained, you can see now I've got these red highlighted borders, and anything with a red border, it's mandatory. Anything with a dotted red border is optional. And anything that doesn't have the red border, actually, I don't need for evidence explained. They're there for Strathclyde and for University of Tasmania. So I'm just going to go down through. I'm going to put in the information for this particular baptism record. So the first thing I'm going to do here is obviously add the country into the country field. Now, a basic user would just type in the country name. Because I'm using premium, I can actually use a premium feature here, and it's identified by this little purple heart with a plus symbol in it. I can have favorites for fields which have these little purple hearts. And you can see if I click on the drop down arrow here, I've already got 3 values that I've stored as favorites. Actually, if I wanted to just put in another one, I'm just going to type in Ireland here, and I click on the purple heart, then I've got that stored as a favorite again. It's that easy to store a favorite value. And the reason for that is obviously for just consistency. It's faster, but also consistency with what information you're putting in. I'll give you another example. I'm going to put in the church name of St. Peter and St. Paul's. Now, obviously, there's a number of different ways I could type that in. I'm just going to save that as a favorite. So in future, that's always there in my drop-down list. Okay, so I'm just going to go down now, and I'm just going to randomly put in some values here. What I'm putting in here isn't particularly important. It's just for purposes of the demo. I don't need the birth date field here because it's not needed by evidence explained. I'm going to put in the person name. Now, something else that's important to note here is that citations often require the names in different formats. It might be first initial surname, or surname comma first initial, or first name surname,
or surname in uppercase.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to you as a user. We take care of that on the back end. So you just put in the given name and the surname, and then we'll format it in the format that's required by that particular citation style. Register type, I'm just going to put in baptism. You can see again, it could be a favorite. The date range of the register, now I'm going to leave that out. I shouldn't, but I'm going to leave it out, and you'll see why in a minute. I'm going to ignore the page or image field. That's optional. Website name, you can see I've actually stored a number of favorites already, and this is going to be particularly useful. There are going to be websites that you are accessing all the time. So you can start building up your list here. The other good thing is that you can share your favorites with other Cite-Builder Premium users. So you might build up a really good list of sites, and you can share that with someone else, or they can share theirs with you. So I'm just going to put in the ancestry URL here. Again, that's stored as a favorite. And I'm going to put in the date that I accessed that particular source. Now, I just put in a couple of extra buttons here. Today and yesterday, if you cited it, if you actually access the resource on a different date, you can go in and change it. But it's just convenient to have today and yesterday there. So I've done that. Obviously, it's taken a lot longer than it would do normally because I've been talking through it. And now the moment of truth, I'm going to click on the Evidence Explain button, and let's see what happens. Oh dear, it's created the citations for me, but clearly I've made a mistake. I've left. So I'm just going to go back up there. I'm just going to put in a date range, doesn't matter what it is. And I'm going to click Evidence Explained again. And here are our 3 formats of our citations. Our first footnote, subsequent footnotes, bibliography. And if I click on this Copy to Clipboard button, it puts it into the clipboard, including all the formatting like the italics, which is part of the standard. And I can then paste it into my document, my database, whatever, wherever I'm using that citation. If I wanted to sort of generate a Strathclyde citation, I simply just click on Strathclyde. Now here, you can see I need the collection name. If I'm just going to shift click on Strathclyde, it now shows me the fields that I need for Strathclyde, and I needed a collection name. So there, if I click on Strathclyde, and again, here in this particular case, Strathclyde only has a first footnote definition for this particular type of citation source. So you can see here, I'm just going to go back to Evidence Explained, because I want to show you something else now. So there's our citation. Let's say now we know that we're going to be we did access this particular record a number of times. Let's say Fred Smith had a number of siblings who were baptized around the same time. We're not going to want to type this information in every time. Now, another premium feature, You can generally tell they're premium because they've got a purple indigo color. Another feature is personal templates. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clear out the information here, which is specific to this, just to Fred Smith. I might leave the surname, or I might just clear it out as well. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to create myself a generic template. Going to go down here, going to save it as a template. Let's say I only want evidence explained. I don't want to store the rest of the stuff there. And I'm going to say Smith baptisms. I can call it whatever I like because this is my template. This just has to mean something to me. Going to save the template. Now, when I go back to the top level, what you'll see is below all these blue tiles, you may have noticed before I had a number of these sort of lilac-y, pinky kind of tiles as well. These are my personal templates. And I've now got one called Smith Bap in Northfleet. If I click on that, I've already, here is the rule. It's got all the default information in. I fill it out with all the additional information, and I've only got the one style button there. So everything that's there is required, and I just click on that and I create a new citation. Over time, you're going to build up a number of these templates. You can see I've got 8 here, but you're going to get a lot more over time. So you can manage the personal templates, and I can export them to a file. And if I export them to a file, that's good for backup, but it's also, I can then send that file to another Cite-Builder Premium user, and they can import the templates, and they can either import them and overwrite all of their own templates, or they can add them to their templates as well. You might be working with someone, a cousin or someone, who's sort of built up a whole bunch of useful templates. You can then import them, and you're using the same thing.
What I like about that is if you are in a study group and you're all using Cite-Builder, you can share sources that way. If you're in a genealogy society and you have a newsletter or journal, you could share your source citation templates in that way. I think that is incredible. What other type of collaborations can you see with this sharing of sources from your experience?
Well, I can see it for our historical society. We put out a journal each year with various articles about the local area. That would allow the people who are working and writing articles to have consistent citations for each of the articles that are in the published journal.
Yeah. So again, just to reiterate, being able to navigate down through any of these blue tiles, and behind these blue tiles, we've got about 450 different citation sources at the moment, and we're adding them every day. Mm-hmm. All of those are currently available free of charge. All of the citation styles, so the Chicago's and Harvard's and Strathclyde's and Evidence Explained, that's all there. The premium features are obviously being able to store your favorite values. With the favorites, if you say store a church name, so let's say you store St. Peter and St. Paul. If I was to then go to another entirely different citation source, but it's got a church name field, you've got access to the same favorites. And that's the real power of the favorites thing is just consistency across different citation types. Mm-hmm. Of course, when you're managing favorites, you're going to get a whole load of those as well. And with the favorites, you can reorder them. You can sort them alphabetically. Typically, the most recent one you add is the one that appears at the top of the list, but you may decide that you want to reorder it alphabetically, and really importantly, can export them to a file. And if you select them, in this case, I'm going to select all my URLs and I'm going to select all of my website names. I'm going to select those. And I'm going to export those to a file. Someone else can come along and they can import those exactly the same way as the templates. They can import those into their Cite-Builder and add them to their own list as well. Now, the last thing I want to show you is the rules search. So it's 450 plus rules in there at the moment. And you might think, well, let's say I want to cite a family Bible. I'm going to go back to the top level. Now, the Cite a Family Bible, is it a book? Is it an artifact or an heirloom? Where is it? You could spend some time searching down. Some of these levels go down 3 or 4 levels. So rule search, you click on here and you might just type in Bible, and you can look in the rule names, which are the things which appear in the blue tiles, the paths, so whereabouts they are in the hierarchy, And keyword, for a lot of the citation rules, we add extra keywords just to help searching. So you might have, for UK, a rule that has UK in the name. We might add England, Wales, Scotland, and Ireland as keywords. So you could search on any of those as well. If I click search, there we go. I've got two rules that match. If I hover over them, I can see whereabouts it's found it. So in this case, it's found it in books, family Bibles. I can click on the rule and I use the rule. And of course, having used it, I can save it as a template. Maybe I'm going to cite my family Bible a number of times because there's all that good juicy information sort of written into it. And I'm going to save it as a template. And once I've saved it as a template, it's going to appear in my template list.
So I do have a couple of questions. When you come across something in a citation that you're unsure of where that information, so date range of this item, notice here it says date, and I'm assuming that's the date of the people.
The actual event. But it may be in a book that covers,
go ahead,
1800 to 1830.
Okay.
So that's the purpose of that.
So this comes, you just put it in there, or if the collection has it in there?
If it's, what are we talking here, a manifest, a manuscript, and it's just one document for one ship, you would just put the year of that. So let's say 1825.
Okay.
But if it was in a book, as I say, that was several, then you'd go 1800-1830.
Okay. And then if you get confused about what something means, is there a way to ask a question like, I'm in this and I don't know what this field means. What does it mean? Is there a way to ask that question?
Would just be contact us with the email.
So go up here to contact.
Yeah.
Okay. And then send an email, say, hey, I'm over on, I didn't go back to that one, but I was on that one. I'm not sure what that field means. Explain it to me. That's awesome.
The other way would be to go into the Cite-Builder users group. We've got a Cite-Builder page, but there's also another one that is the user group. The other thing that Andy didn't say, when you brought up a citation with a missing field, it might not exist for that particular one. Because it's just going to be a text thing, you cut and paste it and you just delete that bit that says the missing field.
That's a pro tip. I like that. That's awesome. One thing I liked is that in some of the citations, you automatically add that in. I think this is the one I pulled up earlier from Ellis Island. And I'm just going to put gibberish. Yeah. Oh, wait, actually, I could just do today. I like that feature. Yeah. Evidence explained. One of the things that I like that is already in here is you already pulled this stuff out for us.
Yes.
In some of our citations. So that's really great. Wanted to compliment you on that. And then I have another question in shipping. Newspaper abstracts. I love that you included passenger list newspapers. I had a Roots Tech class about passenger list, and people weren't aware that passenger lists show up in newspapers. So when I saw this, I was like, yay, I'm not the only one who knows about this.
For Australia, sometimes that's the only place you find the list of people who paid their own way.
Yeah, exactly. They're fantastic. So the one question I have is this says extracts. Could you explain what extracts mean?
Right. I found some websites. Actually, I think it was under Immigrant Ship Transcriber Guild, where what they have done is just taken that information from a newspaper and put it onto the website. So you are not citing the newspaper because you did not see the newspaper. You are citing the extract from that newspaper that was put onto a website.
So if I wanted to do the newspaper but not the extract, what would I do differently?
I would just go to a regular citing a newspaper.
Journals and magazines?
No, it's a newspaper next to monumental inscriptions.
Oh, there it is. Okay, I got it. That's how we would do that. Okay. So if you ever get confused, you can go to that Facebook group and you can ask that question to be sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Obviously, because we're based in Australia, there might be a little bit of a turnaround, but generally speaking,
But it may be that another Cite-Builder user can answer the question for you.
Exactly. And that's what we'd like to do. We'd like to see more Cite-Builder users
helping each other
out, and definitely sharing their favorites and templates. They could do that via the Facebook group. They could they could publish, hey, here's a big country list I've just come up with. Now, obviously, that's not going to be, every country is not going to be relevant to every user, but of course you can go in to manage favorites and you can delete the ones you don't want.
The other thing I wanted to highlight out there that you created, because I made a video about this, how do you cite DNA in a research report? And you have citations. Let me zoom in here a little bit so people can read the little blue boxes. It's going to throw this menu bar off, but we're trying to be able to see. We've got citations for results, for matches, for GEDmatch comparisons, for DNA painter chromosome, for some Wikitree. I really love all of this. So I went into matches, and then you have the different websites, and then you go through, and then you have the ability to just add the information to create a DNA citation and then format it. Just so easy. Before we wrap up, what are any other pro tips that we haven't highlighted in this presentation? Do you have any?
Well, one thing that we've vaguely mentioned, but I want to stress it, is that if there's something that isn't there or a style that isn't there, ask us and we'll put it in as quickly as possible. And if you find a mistake, which one of our members did find a mistake, I cut and pasted something and forgot to change one thing, let us know and we'll fix it.
Yeah, we'll fix it.
Yeah.
Perfect. And so then if you fix it on your end, everybody gets that update. That's exciting, right?
Well, it's because it's all done via the website. So the next time they go to the website, that's what they get.
Yeah.
What do you think of this new tool? I tried it out and found this tool to be easy to use and reasonably priced. I love that you can switch to citation into any style you need. I also love that Jenny and Andy are willing to correct or add anything users needs, so this becomes a robust tool. Try it out and let me know what you think. Additionally, check out the description box for a coupon code for a discount on your first year of their premium service. Then check out this video on organizing your genealogy research.